Hey guys, and welcome to Let's Get Fancy Fem. Today's topic is gay guys grabbing boobs. I'm offering a trigger warning on this video because we'll be talking about rape culture, sexual assault, and harassment and stuff like that. So if you don't feel you can watch this topic, don't watch this video. So when we talk about homosexual men grabbing women's breasts, particularly straight women's breasts, we view it in our American culture as not such a big deal. We see it as kind of a funny, goofy thing to do. However, this act is actually quite problematic on a multitude of areas. First and foremost, we have to talk about permission given. Now, if a woman gives permission for somebody to touch her breast, I am all for that. I mean, it's her body, it's her right to have whomever she wants to touch it, so long as that other person is consenting and wants to touch it. So, permission is key here. It really is, because I know a lot of people don't have a problem with this so much. And they don't mind it when their breasts are grabbed, and others don't mind grabbing breasts. However, we have to go through and dissect this a little bit and understand why permission needs to be sought out first before anything else. So to get to that, we need to kind of talk about, well, what's wrong with it? And what's wrong with it is it's sexual harassment, sexual assault. It really is. This idea that because a man is gay and that removes the sexual desire from the instance, he feels that that might remove the stigma and harm to the act itself of grabbing a woman's breast without her permission. And that's simply not true, because because they're gay, they feel this legitimizes that act, but it doesn't, because it's really a false sense of entitlement based off of maleness. It's a bunch of BS, really. Let me explain why. Rape, sexual assault, sexual harassment have very little to do with sex and sexual desire at all, and have more to do with control, power, and ownership. And those are not removed from the act when a gay guy grabs a woman's breast. That's not removed. In fact, they feel because they're a man, but because they're gay and that removes sexual desire, they can do that. But as I just said, sexual desire has very little to do with those things, so it's still sexual assault, it's still harassment, and it's not okay, especially when the woman has not given her consent to having you touch her breast. Now, if a woman gives consent and asks you, would you like to touch my breast, or a gay guy can certainly ask a woman, can I grab your boob? I don't think that's such a big deal, because by seeking permission, it's a consensual act, it's her body, it's her choice, and she gives you that right, and you can do that, and that's fine. But we really have to understand that doing it without permission is very, very wrong. And a lot of gay men do it without permission because of that false sense of entitlement that has been legitimized for them because of the lack of sexual desire. That doesn't matter. I don't care. It's not okay. A woman's body is her own space, and it's her own property. It's nobody else's, and therefore you shouldn't touch a woman without her permission. And the same thing goes for vice versa for women who touch gay men or anything like that, or any circumstances. And it doesn't even have to be in a sexual way. Nobody should touch anybody else without their permission in any way, really. It's difficult. Now, of course, there's sometimes if you're friends, you can pat each other on the back, or, you know, I'm not saying to get rid of that. I'm just saying that sometimes our body is our space, and it's not respected, especially in the case of women. And unfortunately, just because you're gay does not mean that you have a right to own that woman's body, because that's just male privilege and gay male privilege intersecting there and creating this harmful discourse, and still kind of retaining the structural idea that we have in the society that women's bodies belong to men. So please don't touch women's breasts without permission. And another thing that really, really irritates me, and I've seen this a lot, and I've talked to a lot of gay men who have done this, is when they use their right to grab women's breasts without permission in front of straight men as a way to taunt the straight men. I've heard of this story multiple times, and I've heard of it from a few friends of mine, and it's just not cool. They use it as a way of like, oh, you know what, you're so jealous. You're just jealous because I can do this. And women have been offended by them doing that. And then they say, oh, it's okay, I'm gay. As if that solves the entire situation, and it really doesn't. That's really, once again, that's just harassment. Stop it. But women often will let this continue, even if the harassment does bother them, because of this idea that, you know, lack of sexual desire means that it's not sexual assault or sexual harassment, which, once again, I will restate is not true. Because, once again, and I will restate, sexual desire has very little to do with sexual harassment and all that stuff. Anyway, so when you do that, gay guys, particularly this message is to you, to straight men as a way to taunt them, and I don't think the majority of gay men do this, by the way. They really don't. I think they understand the concept of boundaries much better than... I don't want this to sound like I am pinpointing an entire group of people, because that's not what I'm doing. But this is a phenomenon that happens quite a bit, so we need to talk about it. So anyway, if you do touch a woman's breast and you use it as a way to taunt straight men, you're just cementing the negative male perception that women's bodies are sexual, and their sexuality are property of men in this culture and not their own property. So this needs to be addressed. Now, women who feel comfortable with gay men touching their breast, that is perfectly fine and acceptable too. But I do have a message. There are plenty of other women, some of which I know and some of which have issues with this, who do not like being touched. And when you do not rebuff and advance when a gay man grabs your breast and you just accept it because you like that behavior, it's not a problem that you like that behavior, but you're cementing the idea, once again, that it's okay for them to do that to other women. So my message to straight women who like to have their breasts grabbed by gay men, and to gay men who like to grab women's breasts, please start learning to ask permission first. And women, for those of you who enjoy this behavior, please start reminding your friends to, you know, I'm okay with it, but there are some women who are not okay with you doing this. So please start asking my permission to do this. I know it's your body and you should be able to do with what you want, but it's just a little step that it would be great if you could take just to help out other women who don't feel comfortable with their body being grabbed by strangers. That's all I have to say today, guys.